Hello, Jimjamatic here. Welcome to a brand new episode of Robot Wars episode reviews. It is Heat I, Anderson's very first Heat. Bless,
That's why I'm
bless,
here.
bless him.
I remember it now. I was 5 years old when this Heat came out. That makes me feel old. I'm 23 next month. On the day of recording this, it's April the 13th. So a month today, I will be 23.
Wow. I mean, I remember, I had to fight with my cousin at some points to get the TV to watch Robot Wars because, I watched all the series two for the most part. I missed out on the first Heat, thankfully. Watched the series three. And I was like, oh, what's he? Roadblock apparently is in this Heat, and I was like, oh, and I had to fight with him to get, and eventually I won, thankfully. And okay, not the best Heat in the world. After a downgrade from Hypnodisc's Heat, but it's still not a bad Heat.
I was lucky on that front because I never had to fight anybody for it. In fact, I actually discovered it was thanks to a friend showing it me. I went over to his house when I was 5, and we basically watched it after watching The Simpsons.
Well, that's lucky. I had to watch the recordings afterwards most of the time. But for
series 4 onwards, because series 4 onwards, I had youth club on Friday night, so I wasn't at home when it was on. So I used to watch it Saturday morning when I woke up.
But enough rambling. We'll get to the actual Heat, obviously.
Yeah,
It's getting a bit late for us over here, about 10 o'clock now. So
yeah.
So we'll start with the Heat winner, obviously, Beast of Bodmin. Now, if you want to see Roadblock in his fursona, this is Deviant Art page, and this is his OC. Don't steal, Beast of Bodmin. Obviously, I know it's rebuilt from Series 3, the innards, but it's pretty much the exact same shape and design, minus the little lifter on the back, which came in useful occasionally, but is a bit small to be majorly useful, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, they're two completely different. I mean, literally, there's actually a picture on the wiki of the two robots next to each other. I'm going to say it now. I love Beast of Bodmin. Now, I know Beast of Bodmin wasn't well received. I know a lot of people prefer Roadblock over it, and I can completely understand why. But there's just something about. I mean, maybe it's because it was, the first Heat winner I ever saw. But there was just something about it. I was 5 years old. You watch Robot Wars. What do you see? This great big black and yellow wedge-shaped robot with these big eyes and this little flicky thing. And of course, from what I remembered, obviously watching back, it was a little lucky in places, but it seemed to dominate its Heat pretty well. And I just thought it was a really memorable robot. I like the fact that they took something. They took Roadblock and they made it more interesting, because at the end of the day, when you think about Roadblock, was literally a road sign with a scoop on it, in all fairness.
Yeah.
They actually made a design with this one. So yeah, and I liked how they incorporated Cornwall into it, their hometown, made the Beast of Bodmin. I thought that was great. And they're a great team as well, so yeah, I love Beast of Bodmin. Sorry if that offends anyone.
No, I mean, in fairness, it's not like you're saying, Tornado over Storm 2 or something like that, where they're both... in both Beast of Bodmin and Roadblock's case, they're both good robots, so...
Yes, definitely.
I love the eyes on it. The eyes are the best. I think the eyes made the robot, honestly. The winking eyes, or most of the time, one eye closed.
I would say Beast of Bodmin is my favourite of the two, just because it's more memorable for me. But
it's got more personality.
Yeah, yeah.
Even if one of the eyes was always closed at some points, it just broke half the time, one of the eyes.
Yeah.
The other eye kept working, though, don't worry. Did the saw ever do anything?
No, it never worked, and they admitted it didn't work.
Yeah, it was there for aesthetic, wasn't it, really?
Yeah, well, let's be fair. I mean, when you've got a great big wedge like that, I mean, they use that to their effect mainly. They didn't really need the saw, in all fairness.
No, they've used it a bit in Series 1 and 2, but Series 3, by then, it was just like Sergeant Mashes. It was just like a thing to put on there, because it was, it looks good as opposed to actually does anything. Yeah, I mean, Beast of Bodmin isn't terrible. It's just... It's probably one of more average Heat winners, but... I mean, especially by Series 3 standards nowadays. Imagine if it went against Hypnodisc in the first round. That would have got shredded.
Oh, God, yeah. I'll admit, don't get me wrong, it wasn't the most spectacular of Heat winners in, a actual competent sense, but just via, personal memories, how good it did in its Heat, and design-wise, it's one of my favourites.
Plus, also, it actually belongs to an elite group of robots that have never failed to make the semi-finals.
Yes.
Carbide, Aftershock/Shockwave, Hypnodisc, Dominator 2. Who else haven't failed? I mean, even Firestorm, yes, that was one I was thinking of. Even robots like Razor and Chaos 2 and Tornado haven't actually made it to semi-finals. Even Spawn Again hasn't made it to semi-finals all the time. But
Yeah.
they have in that elite few, and maybe
Oh,
Apollo if they get the wild card.
yeah, maybe. Yeah. It's also one of the very few robots to have never been pitted as well.
It's weird to think, isn't it? Even like robots
Yeah.
like Chaos 2 and Hypnodisc have been
Yeah.
pitted at some point.
Even both Roblox weren't pitted either, not once.
Carbide has been pitted, but this thing hasn't.
Yes.
So it's like, I mean, at the end of the day, even though it's not the best robot in the world, it's still the Roadblock team. They're still good at making their robot as it is, but you can tell by Series 3, it was a bit lackluster in comparison to Series 2 and 1, where it was more dominant. Like you just
See, the way I look at it is, I think Roadblock wouldn't have done any better than
oh
than
no
Beast
no
Woman. I think Beast Woman was definitely still a very fair semi-finalist,
yeah.
and I think that they had brought in Roadblock again. That too would have been a very fair semi-finalist. I just don't think that they would have made the grand final Roadblock either.
I just think they should have made the lifter like with the big cheese, just gone all out and make a massive lifter, not just a tiny little wedge thing at the bottom like a door stop at the back of the robot. It just looks a bit too
I agree.
weedy.
That thing did. I mean, it barely lifted up Blade, for God's sake.
It was looking at Blade had flat sides, otherwise they would have got back on the wheels again. But yeah, that was Beast of Bodmin. The runner-up of the heat, honestly, one of the more unique robots that just never really managed to do well in the series is Invertebrat. I mean, this is their this is their best attempt, obviously, but
I love this robot. For one, I wouldn't say love. It's not like one of my favorites, but I really like it. And the reason why is because they didn't just go for the stereotypical design. Like I mean, I guess you could say stereotypical design. What is a stereotypical design? And robot, well, wedges or boxes, things like that. But I mean, even like something like Chaos 2, you can still turn around and say it's technically a wedge. Same could be said with Razor. Yeah, okay, it's got this beautifully designed claw, but it's still technically a wedge. But with Invertebrat, it's just something completely different. I mean, it's a really unique shape. It's got really weird wheels. Although I have anything wrong with that. It's got very interesting weaponry. I don't think there was ever really done a two-way splitting flipper before, or since then actually. The bludgeoner was pretty cool. It had a wacky paint job. I mean, this is definitely an episode I would say is. I'd say this is the artistic episode of Series 3.
It's filled with a lot of very unique-looking robots. They're always memorable, at least.
Memorable, unique, artsy-looking robots. That's this heat, definitely.
I think the biggest problem is, though, the heat didn't really allow for a lot of unique battles. It just kind of, a lot of them were kind of pushing matches and kind of...
Yeah.
Like, a lot of the battle... I think that's the biggest problem with this heat. While the designs are nice, the actual battles weren't as interesting, which lets it down for me. But Invertebrat, its two biggest problems, I think, mainly come from the fact that we're trying something new. Because for example, the bludgeoner is the wrong way round. It shouldn't be that way. It's too close to the body, and the disc barely sticks out of the body, so it doesn't really do any damage. They added teeth in Series 4.
That's probably face spinners, isn't it? Yeah.
No, but the thing is, though, they added it but in Series 4 they added actual teeth to it, so it actually could do something. But it's just a weird, awkward shape and an awkward position on the robot. And also, how are you going to point at a robot? I don't know. It's so thin. And secondly, the little lifters. I like the idea. They're like a pair of scissors. How one can lift differently to the other. But the biggest problem was, especially in Series 4, where they pinned themselves to the floor. But in Series 3, the amount of times the robot would lift a robot and it would slide off the flipper. And or alternatively, it would lift it and then not be able to do anything else with it because it doesn't have the massive loads of pushing power on the wheels, so it would just kind of nudge them a bit.
Invertebrat is the perfect example of a robot that is designed to be original, but hasn't had enough thought process to take it past that point.
I agree.
If that makes any sense. It's like I saw a picture once of it's actually sums this up pretty well. It's like 4 forks next to each other, and one of them is like really bent and buckled compared to the other 3. And it says originality. Just because you're original doesn't mean you're useful.
It's true.
And I think that makes that. I mean, that's not a dig at Invertebrat. I really do like it. It's just a case of I think that they focus too much on originality and not enough on why they could go with it.
Yeah, it was kind of doomed to fail in many ways, which is a shame because they failed to qualify for Series 5. I can kind of see why, but
I can see why as well, especially after their dismal performance in Series 4.
I mean, their tag team terror was just as dismal, and they worked properly to a degree. They didn't get stuck on themselves like something, but
yeah. Well, I will say this though. Is it was at least memorable again, mainly for me. I don't know if that's for everybody else, but you know.
I mean, I will be honest. I slightly do forget this robot exists sometimes. Like, I will forget who Beast of Bodmin fought. Like, I'll go for the robots and go, who did Beast of Bob? Oh yeah, that Invertebrat robot. I always forget. I don't know why. It's just one of those ones that never ever stuck in my mind, despite how weird it looks. But It's still not a bad robot. It's just I just tend to forget things sometimes. But
That's fair enough.
one other robot that you're never going to forget in your life is Terrapin. The dumbest
Yeah,
robot of this heat, hands down. But I love it for all the
I
stupidity of
think
it.
it's got a whoopee cushion in it. Come on.
It's amazing. I mean, it's robot. Granted, that I don't see the point of the lifting shell because it was high enough off the ground as it was, and also it didn't really have any like lifting arms on it. It was just sort of just lifted a bit, like shuffled.
I think what that was for was to change their ground clearance. Because if you notice, like it can actually go down, so it literally sits on the floor, or
Hmm.
they could raise it up. So it's got. So I think it was to basically change different speeds. So like if they wanted to like push a robot, they'd lift it up because then they'd have like less like friction on the floor. If they wanted to stop themselves from, it was more like a defense. I mean, I think I see where they were going with because it's a terrapin. Terrapins have shells. They hide in their shells to defend themselves, and that was what they were trying to go for. It tried to lower down for when they came in for an attack, and when they were going for something, they came out of its shell.
Yeah, it's a big shame. It also suffers from the Series 3 curse, I like to call it, where
Yeah.
they never appeared again, along with good robots like Ratus Ratus, but
Mm.
also Agent Orange is another example of this.
Yeah.
Hardvark, robots that never appeared again, even though they tried to qualify for the next series, and apparently it didn't. It looked identical from the one picture I can see on the wiki of it, but it's a bit of a shame. I'd like to see this robot more than something like Medusa
Yeah.
2000 or something. I
Oh,
mean,
definitely.
uh,
It is a very pretty robot again, but when it comes to Series 3 standards, where there were still people entering, grey boxes, it's a very pretty robot.
it's lovely. The only problem I have with it is mainly the fact that the spike is so high up from the ground. It,
Yes,
it,
I agree with that.
it couldn't even hit Vercingetorix, and Vercingetorix is an averagely height robot, so
Yeah.
it's kind of bad, but it's still it's cute for what it is.
Yeah. It's got great personality. I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but it's got great personality behind it.
Oh, I mean, all these robots have some personality to them to a degree.
Yeah.
And actually, we have a lot of rematches. We have a rematch of 101 and King Bucks in next heat. And this heat, we have Onslaught coming back, and they actually work this time, and they still couldn't beat, still couldn't beat Roadblock.
No, no, I love Little Onslaught. It's always like as JP called it, the plucky little terrier. It's actually in my top. I'd probably put this in my top 10 favorite robots easily, just because it was the robot. Like I said, it was the robot that you never expect to do well, but it put up a good fight. Look at its performance in the Annihilator in series.
It did
Series
really well
4.
then. Did really
It
well.
did really well then. It's a shame it didn't put it lost to here, but to be honest, against former champions, I mean, you couldn't go out to a better team, really, could you? I mean, if you're going to go out to someone, you got to go out to one of the best teams.
Its lifter was never going to flip anything, unless it was like really overbalanced or something like that. But it might.
I've actually noticed it's never actually flipped a robot over. Oh no, it did. It flipped Razor over in the eye. I don't want to talk in rubbish.
Yeah, it's never actually taken out a robot by flipping them though. Like,
No,
obviously, because
no,
obviously, I mean, that's the one thing I wish they could have improved on. Obviously, they made Kapow that appears in the pilot episode for Series 8,
yeah.
but nothing past. I don't think they qualify for Series 9. I don't think they tried for Series 9. I don't remember. I don't know if I know nothing about Series 10 obviously, but I mean, it's just. I mean, I prefer Onslaught 'cause it's got more personality. It plus looks like a little RC car, which is a plus.
Yes.
Like it looks like something I could buy in a shop potentially.
See, people who made Psycho Sprout, this is how you take a remote-controlled car and make it work.
Just look at Demolisher. Demolisher
Yeah.
worked as well, honestly.
Yeah.
In all honesty.
Beefcake.
Yeah, Beefcake was better than you. But imagine Psycho Sprout had originality at least.
Yeah, I'm fair to do it.
For the first round losers, I'm going to go to one I think probably is the most. I hate to say it, probably most boring. Armageddon. It's just a
Yeah.
slow thwack bot. I mean, at least compared to something like Stinger, which was all over the place, this has the opposite effect. It just doesn't. It barely does anything. It just kind of moves really slowly.
Yeah, I will agree with you. It's very boring on a battle aspect. As a looks aspect, again, it's pretty artsy, but on an actual entertainment value when it comes to getting in the arena, yeah, there isn't really much to it, unfortunately. But
it got kind of like pushed around a lot for.
yeah. See, that's one thing I always respected Onslaught for. It was good at pushing robots that design around.
Actually, this robot's so bad it managed to get stuck on the pit by. I mean, the weird thing is, at any point it could have lifted its arm back up, but it didn't. It just kind of stood there for a bit, just waiting for Onslaught to kill it. I don't know. But I mean,
And then it had like the world's longest push into the pit. I mean, literally, what I love is that
Oh,
onslaught
that's
just,
enough
done,
funnier.
just pushed it from there, and it just rolled in the pit from there.
It's one of the funniest pittings of the series, in my opinion. But
Oh, easily, definitely.
I mean, it's quite a boring battle, but it's a funny pitting. But Armageddon again, I don't. Actually, this is another robot I forget exists as well, just because there's nothing amazing about it. I mean, it looks different compared to a lot of flak bots, sure, but like I like the fact that the kind of wheels are the entire hub. But
Yeah.
again, it's just Armageddon.
I'm gonna say this now. None of these robots for me are forgettable, but like I said, I think it's just because it's my first heat, and those memories stick, don't they? So I mean, I'm sure none of the robots in your first heat are for that forgettable.
I find Death Trap really forgettable. But that's just me.
Ah,
Sorry, I keep I
it's the
honestly,
first my bubble boy.
I'm sorry. Even though I watch a heat for the first time, I'll still forget half the robots in it. Probably. I remember Mace and Chaos and Williosaurus. I don't remember the other three. Like Leviathan, I barely remembered, and I didn't even remember that Tantrum was a thing until I rewatched it on YouTube years later. So there you go. So the second one, I think we'll go for Vercingetorix. Improved from last series. Granted, improved from last series, but they lost to a terrapin.
I will say this actually about Vercingetorix. I mean, it looked like Jonathan. It looked the business for Series 3 standards. It was sleek. It was well balanced. Had a decent weapon to an extent. Good push. But yeah, it lost to a terrapin.
Also, I will say
Which
that
either makes Terrapin a very, very powerful robot, Vercingetorix very unlucky, or yeah.
I mean, I mentioned this with Sam in the preview for Heat H, but they actually wrote "Julius, go fuck yourself" in Latin on the robot, and
Yes.
obviously because no producers speak Latin, they can't prove them wrong on it. So I love that they're just going balls out. I mean, obviously there was a some people thought the C word was written on the original one, but it was actually Aunt, Aunt, but some people thought it was a C. So yeah, it's not that. It was a reference to Monty Python. Come on. But here, it's basically a beefed up version of the Series 2 one, and it worked better. It didn't have any interference problems this time, but it didn't have that oomph that Vercingetorix and Common Getorix had later on with the axe and the lifter and all that. It's just sort of it's not that interesting to look at, sadly enough. It's just kind of this little wedge box thing. I don't know.
What I want to know is what the hell are the little spike punches for?
I don't know. I mean, it's not going to get stuck on its side, is it? Let's face it.
No.
Also, it sort of looks like if you're talking in very nerdy terms in terms of Pokemon here, but it kind of looks like a previous evolution of Push to Exit in a weird way.
It does actually, yeah. I can see where you're coming from on that actually.
It's sort of like how I thought. What was it now? Thinking like Crusher's like the Tiberius pre-evolution. And speaking of Crusher, as I mentioned last time, the weirdest thing about this team is it's Warthog from Series 1 and the middleweight battle of Series 2, and one of the team members is from Talk of the Devil. It's just it's just random, isn't it? It's like, okay.
Although to be fair, right, to go from Warthog / Talk of the Devil to this.
Oh yes, I'd much rather have that.
Major improvement.
Imagine
and also the team weren't jerks this time, so fair play to them.
Actually, in fairness though, I can understand their frustrations in Series 1 by losing to a tiny bit of bent metal. But in Series 3, the robot
can understand that, yeah, but
the robot was in pieces before the robot went in. And this robot,
yeah.
I mean, actually, I heard somewhere, I can't confirm, but I heard apparently this robot was almost close to being substituted. Because it was,
yes, I believe it was
very close. I mean, it worked just enough in the battle, but you could tell it was. I don't know if that was its top speed, but I hope it wasn't, because this robot's painfully slow. I mean, Beast of Bomb was halfway across the arena, saying move about a centimetre the entire battle.
The issue with this robot really was there was actually definitely its tracks, not only because they were exposed, but because they didn't really have sufficient grip. Like we said earlier about invertebrate, it would lift the robot up, but then it would never be able to do anything with it. Well, it got a hold of Beast of Bomb, but they couldn't do anything with it because they had no traction to push along.
Also, this robot.
When you think the robot only weighs 60 kilos, you've got a whole 20 kilos extra, lads. Put something over the tracks. Come on.
Also, this should have been a robot on wheels. Honestly, it would have been 10 times better. Its Crusher could have done something. It could have some pushing power. I mean, it looks very delicate. It's a little. Although oddly enough, it actually survived Dead Metal Saw very easily. It didn't actually cut through most of it.
Although that was my first ever spark shower.
It was beautiful, and also the tracks fell off from no pressure whatsoever.
Oh yeah, I mean, this one literally just nudged them on the side and they fell off.
I mean,
and again, that just shows how literally one track for the whole thing is dead. They can't even move in circles anymore.
This was no Fluffy versus 101.
No.
No.
I will say this though about Crusher. I mean, said it was fragile. It's like a bust, isn't it? Or it's like your grandma's favourite dish sort of thing. It's fragile, but it's pretty.
Indeed, very very pretty, and the prettiest robot of them all, the Witch.
Oh, this is brilliant!
I
From
love the
Team
Witch.
Wizard.
Natural progression, you make the Witch. I love I love this thing. 'Cause it looks like a beefed up wizard. I imagine. This could be completely bullshit, but I think the bent hat was not meant to be a hat. Was because they couldn't fit it into the boot.
Yes, I believe that was the case because they took the hat off the top of the base of the robot, obviously, because they definitely wouldn't fit in the car that way. And I think they put that bit in the boot, but they couldn't get it in, so they were like, bugger, let's just bend it. Although I like the fact that his daughter dressed up as a witch as well. That was pretty sweet, and it was nice to see a young driver as well.
Actually, this robot was very fast. It was like 15 miles an hour. Smart. It had no control, granted. I mean, look, at least this time they knew which way there was forward because of the axe.
It had probably the biggest design flaw ever. The hat wobbled too much and flicked the off switch off.
It's kind of a fault, isn't it?
It's like when in Series 4 when something beats itself.
Oh.
When the chain snaps, the forks lunge forward and beats itself.
Basically,
it's a bit of a design flaw when you think about it, but
a bit
the way he said it.
I mean, actually, the thing about the Witch is actually one thing I like about it compared to the Wizard. A lot of people kind of forget, to the Witch is Wizard, who cares? But compared to Wizard, it got rid of a lot of the unnecessary shit around it. Because if you think about it, Wizard had so many pointless little bits on it. Because the little voice in it had the little drill bits. It had some spikes. It had something else on it, some chain whips, all this useless shit. Plus, you couldn't tell where the front was. Here, you got an axe. It didn't fire at all once. I don't know if it really worked at all, but you know where the front is. It's fast. It knows where it wants to be. A joke entry based off a witch. And I like it. It's just a shame the hat wobbles a bit too much.
It's a shame. But I like the Witch. I think it. I mean, again, for comedy and for personality, it's a fun robot.
It was never going to win, but it's so fun. And it's weird to think this is also part of the veterans as well.
Yeah. Those are the kind of veterans we like seeing. I mean, would Robot Wars have been as memorable without the Diotor, Plunderbird, or Sokomalot boys?
Hell no. Hell no.
Exactly.
We have Nuts and Worm now, so they'll take over. Our first battle, then we'll get on to is Onslaught versus Armageddon. We mentioned before the classic pitting of it just rolling into the pit and then falling over. Onslaught had some steering problems. They couldn't turn right properly because something happened with the. I forget they explained it, but I can't remember what they said
basically,
now.
their wheels jammed because you know how it's got a car steering, so the front wheel turn. Well, unfortunately, they turned. I think it was to go left, and unfortunately, the wheels were jammed. So basically, they could just drive in a great big circle.
I mean, they got very lucky that Armageddon was not a very maneuverable robot. Otherwise, they would have been outclassed.
They had control problems. They were basically telling it to go one way and it was going the other way and all that crap. Radio frequency differences again, I guess. But
wheels have been a strong issue when it comes to Onslaught. I mean, they lost their tyres in Series 2, and in Series 3 the wheel locks up. So
yeah. This match isn't really much. It's a few good knocks from Onslaught. I mean, Onslaught gets a good few slams in, but then its wheels jam, and it's just a case of them trying to basically nudge them towards the pit, and Armageddon just failing because it can't control itself.
It was kind of a failed battle, really, on all fronts.
Yeah,
they're very lucky that Armageddon just rolled into the pit and didn't decide to go backwards or anything like that. And then maybe they just accepted their fate. I don't know.
Yeah. Go in for it, lads.
Oh god. The next battle obviously is Crusher versus Beast of Bodmin. Crusher gets some nice blows and then the track falls off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like this battle. Mainly, I don't know what it is I like about this battle. I think it's because it just shows anything can happen. Like, Crusher would literally... I mean, this is actually the best of both worlds, because obviously Beast of Bodmin were obviously the favourites going into this one, former champions, been there since Series 1. Crusher barely working before it goes in. Ultimate upset on the way, because they're basically just owning Beast of Bodmin. and then the track falls off. So what was meant to be an upset is no longer an upset, and that in itself is an upset. So it's like the double standard.
It was the fact that the tracks fell off so easily. It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't. It wasn't like it wasn't the case of like Beast of Bodmin lifted them up slightly, or pushed them into a house robot, or got one to the spikes. They just nudged it with a tail, and it just fell off entirely. And this is why you have proper wheel guards. Look at Mortis.
Well, like I said, 20 kilos to work with. Why did they not manage to think? I mean, you could have put wood over that, for God's sake. It would have protected them more.
Also,
anything.
I mean, this
paper.
This robot was doomed to fail, unfortunately. It really was. I mean, it's not a bad robot, but its speed, lack of maneuverability, and tracks probably were its biggest downfall. The track, it should have made it just wheeled. The wheels have made it so much better. But yeah, sorry, Crusher. We'll never see you again. But you tried.
Yeah,
you tried. Now, actually, probably relatively actually speaking about it, it's actually quite a big upset. Vercingetorix versus Terrapin. This was amazing. This shocked me when I was younger, because I saw Terrapin and thought to myself, it's a joke robot. It's probably just there to keep up the numbers. My God, this thing has pushing power.
Yeah. Not only do I like not only do I like this battle because of the upset, but it's, you know how I like good close battles? Well, this is a close battle, instead of it being like back and forth. This is a close battle in the fact that the first half is dominated by one robot, and then the second half is dominated by the other. And it's like, a bit like Tough as Nails versus Robo Chicken in Series 7. You know, Robo Chicken dominated to begin with, and then obviously Tough as Nails came back stronger towards the end. And this is exactly what happened here. So yeah, I enjoyed it. and that long push again, it was just another really long push. Like, come on, we're gonna get you there. We're gonna get you there eventually. Bang, then you go.
No, the bit I
and
liked
then Terrapin nearly goes in itself.
Well, the bit I liked is when they were both stuck on when Vertigator was in the pit and Terrapin had pushed them in. Little jab with the little Terrapin head. Just
yeah, it's just like, yeah, we're still good. We're still gonna get you. Yeah, and it still missed.
It's still too high up. I mean, this match proved one thing for me though. Terrapin does not know how to drive. This robot just bounces all over the place like a ping pong ball. It really does. It's so fast, but it has no controls. It just bumbles around the arena, and they got a very lucky push. Let's face it, if they hadn't got there, Vercingetorix would have got underneath them or pushed them around a bit and probably won the judges' decision. So it was close up until that point, but yeah,
it was a good display though.
They definitely deserved the win, though. They would deserve that win, though, because that was a worthy push from them.
Definitely.
That was brilliant. And the final battle was obviously Invertebrat versus the Witch, where a lot of lifting, but not really doing anything from Invertebrat. Witch just drove around the arena, and then, of course, the hat wobbled enough to turn the on switch to off.
I remember laughing at this as a kid because I found it funny that the hat just kept bouncing around and wobbling around because it was getting flicked constantly.
I mean, Wizards and
as
the Witch...
as a match, it's not really much, is it?
No, the Wizards and the Witch have a massive problem with losing their hats. Seems to be a constant...
Off to them. Hey.
Oh, that was too obvious. Come on, man.
Yeah, sorry, I know.
But
I know.
Oh man, I mean this is not the most interesting battle in the world, but it's something. You know, I mean, if there's Invertebrat kind of helped the bouncing along anyway, so.
Yeah, I mean, Invertebrat made this battle much more entertaining than it would have been.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely. It was a good display as well, in all fairness. You can't moan too much. The house was got stuck in as well at the end. Can't complain.
I'm just disappointed that the Witch never used its axe once, because maybe it didn't work or something. I don't know.
I don't know what it is. To be honest, I'll be 100% honest, I can't see it really being much better than Sergeant Meekle style. It has that sort of, I'm just going to drop down slowly look to it, but,
it would have added to it, and unfortunately they never tried for Robot Wars again. It's a shame, because I like to see them. The Mage, the Paladin, loads of ways they could have gone for this. That one...
They were... And they were, good team. I mean, again, forgotten teams. These guys are definitely one of them for me because, I mean, they were such characters.
I mean, just look at all the possibilities. You got, as I said, you got Mage, you got Paladin. You could go.
They could have teamed up. They could have teamed up with Eye of Newt. You never know.
Yeah, they could have made some Harry Potter themed stuff. Maybe go to Lord of the Rings. That one creepy guy at the bus stop who does crack. Yeah, loads of things they could.
Right, it's actually quite ironic you mentioned that because I watched Prisoner of Azkaban today. And you know the bit where the monster book starts like snapping and moving forward. I thought to myself that would be amazing. Like nobody ever took a wind up toy and made it a robot. Like just like this snapping jaw just keeps snapping as it drives along. That would have been awesome to have seen.
Awesome, and that was our Harry Potter podcast of the week.
Yes.
Join us next week. But no. Obviously, before we get to round two, we have the side event, which was the pinball back again, and it was kilohertz failing this time.
It was a massive failure because it got absolutely gangbanged by the House Robots.
60 points it got. It just, mind you, combined to the fact that it just didn't seem to be steering as well for some reason in this pinball.
If it wasn't for, let's put it this way, if it wasn't for Rocks 2, this would have been the worst performance in the pinball.
My God, let that sink in.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, this is it was not a very good display from Kilohertz. I mean, honestly, this whole series, apart from the Chaos 2 battle and the international, in the World Championship, they didn't really have They had a terrible Series 3 and 4. Yeah. They really did.
In all fairness, they made up for it with their pinball run in Series 4
and Terahertz.
And Terahertz, yes, that too, and of course John Reed's Herculean godlike Santa Clausy beard.
Yeah, and actually, also, do we credit them for D as well? Big pink D.
And the big D. I just think it's ironic how he made a robot called D that was big and long and pink, and then in A, he's like, it's a bit stiff. Quite a little bit of loop in there. It's definitely better now.
I still want to know how much creative control John Reed had on that because I'm really. I bet they're picking him out of the hat and he ended up getting D. I don't know why I could just imagine Craig Danby slapping on the back and just saying it's all yours.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So not much to say about Kilohertz's run apart from that it just was not very good. It was just terrible. I mean, 60 points is nothing.
Yeah, no. It basically they just couldn't control it. I mean, they were going for everything and missing everything, and then the house was like, "Mate, you have to calm down. Get in the corner," and they gave it a good. Here's with their axe, didn't they?
Here's a sad.
Shot was actually pretty relentless.
Actually, here's a sad point to finish off the pinball. They got less points than Napalm in Series 2, and they got 75. And they drove off the ramp.
Oh God.
Yeah, that's sad.
There's only three robots that got less points in this. Rocks in this series. And
I was going to say, I was trying to guess the second one. The second one's Spikosaurus, isn't it?
Yeah, and then the third one's a Timber's Run. There's 3 robots that have got less points in the pinball in this run. Did
Banshee not get less points as well?
No, Banshee got like 75.
Wow.
Well, no, or was it 95? Hang on, let me think. They got a 50-point target, so that's automatically, and then they got the multiple release, so that's 10 points plus the barrel. So yeah, they got about 75 points.
Oh yeah, they got 75. I just checked the wiki then. Yeah, they did get 70. I forgot they got the 50-point target. I forgot about that, which is almost as enough to beat them.
The Sergeant Bash literally just drove away from.
Yeah, give him credit. Maybe he could see into the future and saw what was going to happen to it in its heat. So I thought, wow, give it a chance.
Yeah, give it a chance.
Give it a chance. But anyway, that's the pinball. And the second round battle, we have actually quite a close battle to begin with. Terrapin versus Invertebrat. This honestly, when I was younger, I had no idea who was going to win this. But looking back on it, Invertebrat was definitely the more aggressive robot. Honestly.
Yeah. But it was again a good battle. I mean, and of course, Dead Metal Ultimate Fail was great.
Dead Metal, my God! I mean, you're supposed to be one of the more competent house robots, and you end up doing that. Jesus.
But
jeez.
It is very upsetting. This was a good battle in my opinion. Again, it was. I mean, it wasn't what I would call like balls on close, 50-50. I wouldn't even really call it 60-50, 60-40. I'd say probably more 70-30.
It was definitely good stuff from Terrapin. They actually definitely lasted till the end, and they weren't breaking down. They weren't kind of like tiring. They were still just as fast as ever, just unable to control half their shit. To be honest with you,
basically this was definitely won on aggression and control.
Honestly, it was all down to the fact that Terrapin had a worse weapon than Invertebrat. Let's face it. I mean, if it was against something like Vercingetorix, it probably could have been quite even, but. You know, Terrapin, even with its low ground clearance, still couldn't get enough to not be flipped by Invertebrat. And it was a right decision. It wasn't a bad decision, but it was definitely closer than I remember. It was less close than I remember it. But Oh well, it wasn't that bad. But the rematch, Onslaught versus Beaster Bodmin, and can't catch a break, Onslaught, can you? You drive
Oh, fair
onto
play.
the wedge.
They actually worked this time.
Oh, they worked, but then unfortunately drove onto the wedge.
I know that was a bit unlucky. They got a good lift in,
They
and
did.
then and then like you said, they just. In all honesty, that's one of my favourite moments of Series 3, which is literally just the fact that Beast of Woman just nonchalantly turns around just at the right time for Onslaught to drive right up the wedge. Because I'm guessing they were going for a broadside, sorry, a side-on attack.
They were, because they had the lifter raised.
Yeah.
But then Onslaught came in and just drove onto the wedge instead.
Yes. And of course, and of course they're trying to self-right with their little scoop, bless them, as if that was going to help. And then Dev Metal did a really nasty bit of damage. I mean, it nearly sawed it in half.
I mean, it's one of the
and that is why Dead Metal is my favourite house robot.
It's probably it's one of the highlights they constantly show of Dead Metal in the highlight reel for the reason, because it's an awesome cut.
It's just like watching. I mean, it's just like watching knife go through a hot knife go through butter.
Oh, it is. It's glorious. It was glorious. Yes. But unfortunately, Onslaught. This is why they had the self-writer in series. Did they have it in series 4, or was it just series 5 they had it in?
Series 4 and 5, yeah.
4 and 5,
one of my favourite moments from the second Annihilator in Series 4 was it self-writing just to get out of the way of Razor's beak at the right time.
It was it was so well. It performed so well now in the Southern Annihilator, but unfortunately Razor was just better than it. But and then we have the Heat final, which is Invertebrat versus Beast of Bodmin, and this was a very tactical match. Very tactical, because I mean, the amount of times that Invertebrat got underneath Beast of Bodmin and just couldn't do anything to it, because again, that lift is so pathetically small, it can't really flip anything. And it just ended up being the fact that Invertebrat broke down, really.
Yeah, Beast of Bodmin knew that Invertebrat had a ground clearance and took as much advantage of that as possible. I think the spikes did damage here, because if you notice, like, they got spiked, and then I think one of the wheels died. And that's why they were classed as a mobile. Of course, nothing really, beats Matilda basically stripping and breaking apart the seams in this. She lost a tusk and her skin at the same time. How do you manage that?
It was not a good series for Matilda, this one. It really wasn't.
No. But that again makes this Heat final that little bit more memorable for me, because just seeing, it was perfect chaos. Just the fact that you see, this big beast of a burden versus this, this weird shaped robot, and they're both in the CPZ, but then all of a sudden this house robot's falling apart at the seams. I just think it's hilarious.
I'll be honest with you. I rewatched the Heat today, just obviously for the review, and this might tie into also my general feelings of this episode overall, because it's kind of at the end anyway. But I'm not a big fan of this Heat at all. Like, I don't hate it. I'm bored by it. This is if I had to think myself, one of the most average Heat to the series. Honestly, Gravedigger's Heat's also up there. But this one, I don't know why, but whenever I think back to it, it was always like a blank spot between this and King Buxton and Hypnotist. There's always that blank spot. I forget I always think I is J for some reason. Because I always miss it out. I, yeah. And I actually forgot that Matilda lost her tusk and all that. I think I remember that. I forgot. I didn't even know it happened, and I was like, "Oh shit!" It's like I was watching it for the first time today again, because I never normally watch this Heat very often. Like the last time I watched it, I was watching Mr. Psycho's live review of it. That's the last time I ever saw this Heat. Then I watched it again today, and I was just like, "Oh wow, this Heat's not that interesting." I mean, granted, there's nothing terrible about it. It's just, if you had to describe to me what is a very average Heat, it's up there with something like Plunderbird 2's Heat in Series 2.
Yeah, it's just there for you.
Obviously, I know you have naturally have a lot much stronger connection because it's the first one you saw, and that makes sense.
I'm more than happy to admit that if this was not my first Heat, I'll probably look at it and think, and I would say I would be the same as you. It's like, for example, because I'm thinking Sam's doing Heat L with you, isn't he?
Yeah, that's right.
And that was his first Heat. Now, I don't think he has as much fond memories of his first Heat as I do with my first Heat, but there's still got to be something in the back of his head which still brings back memories of, the first time he saw it. Again, Heat B for me in Series 2 was an average Heat, but I'm sure for you, for the most part, anyway.
I remember every little detail. I remember seeing. I remember it to the point I remember the little wheel guards on Leviathan getting bent slightly as it fell over, or Death Trap. I remember like the amount of times Death Trap got hit by the sparks, or I remember like Wheelosaurus breaking down in the tug of war as it got pulled in. And there's always these small things I remember, like even the small details about Peter Gibson feigning sadness of the fact he hit Sergeant Bash or something like that. Probably my favorite. Yeah, just these. I remember these small details. It's not a bad heat anyway. Thankfully, at least it's not as like average as
it's not
Heat
terrible.
Eye. It's better than Heat Eye of this series, obviously, but it's again since I have this is like midway through the series through series 3. Actually, I think it's the exact midway point. I think was it?
Yeah. Technically, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
It's always a debate between Heat H and I, really, which is the halfway point.
It's basically the midpoint of around the midpoint of the series, and I think by then, after coming from Hypnodisc, it was so.
Yeah.
I mean, if this was before Hypnodisc, I wouldn't have minded it as much. But I think coming right off Hypnodisc, I was so disappointed that the robots were just kind of
I think might be why Gravedigger's Heat is also kind of a bit meh, because it follows Chaos 2's Heat.
Exactly. It's that same
one
problem.
of those. I mean, you can't really, I mean, that's why I think Heat L also gets a little bit of shame, because it had to follow Heats J and K, which are both regarded as pretty good heats of this series.
Unlike Heat O and unlike Heat O to Heat P was shit anyway.
Yes.
So same with Heat C. It's not like Razor's. It's not like Behemoth's Heat was amazing. So it's not like I had much to jump off from there, and it still managed to suck. So there are exceptions, but I can say that with Hell. I mean, L's a Heat I don't mind as much. I just find it a bit boring, and also some of the fights are just bullshit. But we'll get to Heat L. I'll get to Heat L with Sam, but I'm never gonna get over flip flop.
Hashtag Wild Willy was screwed.
I'll never get over that flip flop, what the fuck it's called. I don't give a shit. Robot. That wasn't me stuttering. I just don't give a shit.
I can't believe they went on to make Tetanus.
I'm not joking. Last sometime I think it was earlier this week with Sam. We were discussing some random stuff, and he said, I was talking about flip flop flies. He says, I don't mind flip flop. Oh, I can't even say it. Flip flop fly too much. He says, but at least, they went on to something greater. And I was like, did they? I went straight onto the wiki, and I was like, tetanus? I did not know. I was like, all those robots are awesome. How did you go from a weird scrap crusher, then like a drum spinner, to from the worst axelbot in existence? I generally didn't understand that, but we're rambling at this point, so I think thought out of 10. Try and keep it a little bit less biased, obviously, but I mean actually in terms of actual heat.
I'm taking my if I was to say, basically based on being my first heat, I'd probably go as far as saying 8, but that's harsh because that's not seeing it fairly. On a point of battles, I'd give it about 4 to 5. Add to that the interesting designs of the robots, and just how the fact that all the robots, in my opinion, were quite different and original. I'm happy to give it an extra point onto that. So I'd probably say roughly a 6 to 7-ish. Roughly, I'll give it 6.5. I'll put it down the middle. I'll give it a 6.5.
That's pretty fair. I'd probably give it about 5, probably, just the bang on middle.
Yeah, bang on in the middle. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's just there. It exists.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fair enough.
Exactly. Like, even taking my nostalgia into account, I'd probably give Heat A of Series 2 probably a 7 still, because it's like, for Series 2 standards, it's pretty well, there's no bullshit in it, it's just pretty, for the most part, there's a little bit of a chaos and all that, but still. Anyway, we'll get to the next heat, and I have an announcement to make about this heat. After we've talked about the robots, I've been saving up since...
We've got to bring on, we haven't done the Animal Barnyard yet, we haven't done the Barnyard.
Oh yes, I forgot, Barnyard, obviously Beast of Bodmin.
We have two, Beast of Bodmin and Terrapin.
And Invertebrat.
Oh yeah, because it's invertebrate, yeah. Works as an insect, I guess, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so 3. Obviously, I'll make my announcement after we looked at brief look to the robots. Obviously, got 101. Didn't cost £1 It cost more than that, but under £5, so it's between that. It's one of the most reliable robots to the series, hands down. It's just it never dies unless Fluffy comes against you, which is fair enough because Fluffy's quite destructive. So we'll give you that and that. We'll give that a Mike, of course. They have Robodoc last series. They'll have Anarchy in Series 6, and they had Scuttle and Scuttle B Squared. So very cool. Which is also Anarchy, but yeah, the bigger version was anyway. King Buxton, all praise Simon Harrison and his godly praising of me on Facebook because he created another King B. It's very similar to the original one, but obviously there's got the new disc at the back. It's got the forks a bit more different. The tips never stay on or get bent.
Yeah.
But it burnt out, unfortunately. The King Buxton curse. It
Yes.
decided to just burn out at the last moment, which is a shame.
If it's called King Bee, it will catch fire. That is the rule.
King B stands for burn at this point, I think.
King Burnout.
Centurion, probably one of the most unlucky robots of this heat, because they could have been a heat finalist, maybe even a semi-finalist if they got lucky. It's a really fast robot. It's got good weaponry on the front, but the axe is pretty shit. I mean, the one thing they should have really done, I think, probably was they split the CO2 or the nitrogen, the canister into two different weapons. I think they should have got rid of the axe and just focused on the forks, in my opinion. The axe was doing nothing for them. Like, it just kind of fell down very slowly, well, fast, with no weight to it. Well, the forks actually did something, so I think they should have just stuck to the forks, in my opinion, but that's just me. Also, this guy, Ray Tate, he later forms, he does a Centurion in Series 4. He's Series 5 and 6, he's part of the Sir Chromalot team. He looks like that big bouncer dude. That's that guy. That's Ray Tate, and of course, Skeletron.
From Techno Games.
Possibly one of the most well-engineered pieces of machinery, like built for these robotic combat, I've ever seen. Up there with what do you call it? That massive spider-looking thing from BattleBots. What do you call it?
Mechadon.
Mechadon. That's it. That or Snake. It's up there with those kind of robots, but I think Skeletron is just more. It's just beautiful because it works for a start really well. You know, it's just like how do you describe Skeletron? It's just brilliant. Perfect bit of engineering, and it's surprising it came from the Centurion guy. To be honest, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just weird that these two are connected.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have the same robot again, Weldor. I still can't get over how similar these robots are, but they apparently are. It's like they were working on the same robot at the same time, and then they came to the pits. I'm like, what the hell? It's camouflaged version from Northern Ireland, and isn't it true you couldn't understand what they were saying the first time?
Yeah, basically, yeah. I when I was younger, I had hearing problems. I still do to an extent, but not as bad as it was. But I couldn't understand accents very well. So of course, Phelim, from Northern Ireland, it just made no bloody sense to me whatsoever what the man said. I mean, literally, he even turned around. Like I remember in Series 4, he introduced his team as David and Damien. But I thought he said Davin and Davin. Because I literally couldn't understand the word he said. And literally, even to this day, in that interview bit, he mentions how Kidalot snapped off his axe. And then he goes on, and then he says something else really quickly, and I can't understand. I still to this day do not know what the bloody hell he says. It's really bad. I apologise, but
I'll have to watch that. I mean, one thing I find funny though is the team names are kind of weird because you got Philum Lundy, Ryan Father Ted Crilly. Sorry, I couldn't say it. And also, I love the fact there's got a really normal guy, David Brown. Just, I don't know why. It's like Sam Smith from Carbide. It's like you've got the most boring name in the world for a guy who's got such an awesome-looking robot.
Such a just such a basic name. I mean, it's like being called, I don't know, Bob Smith, something like that.
It's not as iconic as something like Danby or Collius or something like. It's Brown. Yeah, it's just there. Your favourite robot, the Iron Mask.
Oh yes, the bread thin on wheels.
It basically is. I mean, the axe is so powerful. It would have beaten Weldor if it had just got more contact onto the body shell. It would have ripped right through it. Its
axe is so powerful that it might just manage to scratch a piece of paper.
Yeah, I mean, cardboard does bend pretty easily, but they managed to make a working axe out of it. It's very nice to see. Overkill. Giant wedge, the robot.
Yes.
It's like all it is and a chain.
Basically, but a very effective one in all fairness, and very unlucky.
It stands out with the colours. The colours are very bright and colourful. Actually, one thing I do have to complain to more the BBC about is that there was no way for the guy in the wheelchair to get in the pod.
Yeah, they didn't sell that until Series 5 onwards as well.
Wow,
which is ridiculous.
I just find that hilarious. It's like like the kids are there and it's like, where's the guy? Oh, he's probably just watching in the pits because he can't get into the thing.
Yeah.
It's like imagine he was the first disabled guy in the series, because obviously there was a guy who made Accident. There was a guy from in a recent series actually. There was one of the guys from Mega Mouse was also in a wheelchair.
Yes.
But wasn't that many in wheelchairs to be honest in the series, and it kind of showed by the fact you couldn't even get into the thing. So
Yeah.
there is that.
I'm glad they improved it for people because obviously it meant it was more fair for others eventually.
Well, it's just general courtesy, really, isn't it?
Yeah, just
Uh,
general courtesy. It's common sense.
to me, the most unlucky robot of the heat was Excalibur.
Definitely.
Excalibur, such a beautiful axe. I mean, it's mounted on Anthony Lockwood's wall for a reason. It's the only part of the robot that still remains in one piece, and it's just beautiful.
Which is very upsetting when I think about it, because it was a beautiful robot, full stop, and it's a shame that. What I liked about it was that it was silver, but in different angles and different lights, it would look like a sort of chromey color.
Plus, also, it was the first axe, excluding Shunt, to actually do damage.
Mm.
Because
It was actually the first axe to actually fire like an axe instead of just drooping down slowly like Sergeant Meekle or what was it called, Ivanhoe.
or Ultor or something like, it
Yeah,
just like Ultor's axe was fast but had no power to it. Well, this one was just
yeah.
straight into the armor of Centurion. But unfortunately, it suffered for some problems, and it just that's the way it goes. Unfortunately, Road Wars is not always predictable. I mean, if I was watching this like as I was watching the new series, I would have said this is a heat winner. But then, cause it would have hit King Buxton, it would have hit 101, it would have hit Weldor, Cyan Mask. Maybe Overkill might have been the biggest problem, or Eric. Probably those two, or maybe Centurion. I think those three might have been the biggest problems for it. But again, Centurion happened to be the one. But oh well. And then, of course, the meme lord himself. All praise Eric. I still don't get the reason
Best
for this.
name ever.
I love this robot. I think I might have said before at some point, but if I ever name an ant weight, I'm gonna name it after Dave. Not named after Dave Laurie. Just even before I knew who Dave Laurie was, for years, I've just found the name Dave funny. I don't know why.
I think Trigger from Only Fools and Horses might be a reason why I just alright, Dave.
It might be. I think that and Steve. There's just certain names that make me laugh. I don't know why, but like I think Steve comes. Imagine Steve comes from Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged. That's
Yeah.
probably the reason why I find the name Steve funny. But Dave might be from Fools and Horses. But Eric is another one of those names that's just hilarious. It's like Bob.
The
Bob's
thing that made me laugh was with Steve was in QI, and Stephen Fry said, "Oh, you got four possible answers," and he reads out the three, and he goes, and then he says, and then the fourth answer is, "I'll have a 50-50, please, Steve." And then Clive Anderson just goes, "Steve."
No, I mean the iconic Steve line for me was from Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged, where he says, "These are my associates. They are also called Steve." And it's just the way he says it. I don't know why it makes me laugh, because I think the whole point was he could only mind control people who had Steve in their name. It's like, how can you control Bandit Keith? He's not called Steve. Steve is his middle name. it's like fair enough. I'll take that. But
I actually had a robot in my family robot series called Steve.
oh, it's just a fun. It's the certain names like Bob, Eric, Steve, Dave, Jim is another one for me. I'm not just saying that, but Jim is also quite a funny one for me.
Yeah.
Just some like the simplicity of the names makes them funnier sometimes. But obviously Bob would be a good name for a swimming robot. Obviously, I'm sure there was one in Techno Games at some point. I'm sure there was.
There had to be one at least.
There was Robo Bob. I know that, but that's the one I can think of with Bob in it. There's also Mr. S Swim. That's S Swim. I just find that's so dumb to me. But also actually, yeah. So anyway, that was Heat Eye. Now the announcement. I mean, we sort of teased it in Heat H, and I'm going to tease it now because I'm going to tell you right now. For Heat J, we have the one, the legend, the King Buxton man himself,
Sam Elliott 64.
Yeah, we do.
Sorry, that's the wrong one. Sorry.
No, we do have Sam Elliott 64. We have Anderson as well, but we also have Simon Harrison. I know he's not as interesting, is he, than Sam?
No.
But
Simon, no, we love Simon Harrison. No, in fact, fair play to him because he basically he mentioned that we actually cheered him up once in our podcast in Series 2 Heat Eye. Did you approach him or did he approach you? I can't remember.
What happened was I think he meant I just messaged him on Facebook. I think we just started talking on like that post. I just said to him, "Oh, great to hear what you think," and he replied to my comment, and then I just randomly, like about a minute later, got a friend request from him, and I was just like, accept, Except, don't slip onto decline. Except, and from then on in, we've just been chatting every now and then, talking about the experience. He also was chatting about, because remember that 1998 video got appeared it appeared on the. He was talking about that because it appeared on the Where Robot Was website. Someone found it recently, and he put it on, and he's like, "Oh, talking about that," and just talking about general stuff, and it was just really nice to have him on. And I just thought to myself, out of nowhere, I thought, what, do I join us for Heat J? And he was like, yeah, sure. And I was like, he was bless him, he was worried about ruining it or making himself sound boring and stuff. And I was like, don't worry, we're not professionals as it is. We're not a radio station. We're just.
Oh yeah.
We're just.
What about us screaming professional? We literally press record, ramble for an hour, and then bugger off.
I use Windows Movie Maker. Come on, mate. I am nowhere near an expert on anything, so it's just.
I'm recording this on my Samsung J10 with a pair of Samsung headphones. I'm not even using a major mic for this, for fuck's sake.
I'm using a headset I'd use to shout at someone on COD. So we're not amazing. We're not amazing. Even if it was something more professional, sort of like Sam, that actually gets people from the show. I still wouldn't, go, oh, Sam's, he's the professional one, but. We're just fans.
Oh no, Sam and I will literally admit that we're not professional. I mean, like we'll be able to start a podcast, and we'll just dick around beforehand, and then we say, "This is what it's like, guys." Literally, we turn up, we record, and that's it.
But yeah, we have Simon Harrison on. So grateful to have him on. You'll hear that obviously. We've actually recorded it before, so this is so weird talking about we're going to have him on when we've just had him on. But this is because obviously, if you're watching this now, there's going to be a double bill. So enjoy 2 episodes in a row. I do it occasionally. I film out of order. I just go, fuck it, I'll put 2 episodes at the same day on.
It's going to be a duck and a goose. It's a double bill.
Indeed. And with that, on that note, I am Jimjamatic. Jimjamatic signing off.
And I am Anderson9132. I'm going to go get drunk. See you later.
What, at 2 minutes to 11 at night?
That's the best time to do it, mate.
Fair enough. Hangover lasts longer though, but whatever. Anyway, see you all later.